So, let's talk Jane Eyre. So Jane Eyre is about a girl named Jane Eyre who has recently been orphaned because two of her parents have died, her mom and her dad. And now she's living with her aunt and uncle, who are now taking care of her, of course. And recently her uncle has died, so now she is stuck with her mean old aunt, Mrs. Reed, who hates her guts and thinks of her as some demonic, otherworldly child who isn't normal at all. Which I guess in Victorian times, Jane Eyre wouldn't be normal because she's independent, she's strong willed, she's passionate, she's willing to fight for her principles. Where back then, women were supposed to stand in a corner and be like, hey, I'm just gonna look pretty and sit in this corner and be rich. Ho ho ho. And so, Jane Eyre's the independent woman, the I guess the women women want to be back then. And so Jane Eyre lives in this house and she's abused by her aunt and her cousin. Where one day she is moved to the school of Lowood where she meets all these new people and pretty much comes into her own and finds her new identity. And so she stays at Lowood for 6 years, 6 years as a student, 2 years as a teacher, and then she moves from Lowood into the house of Mr. Rochester, which is her main love interest of the book. And from there we learn of Jane Eyre and Mr. Rochester falling in love and the spirits that possess his house pretty much. And that's pretty much the premise of the book. Despite with this premise, I thought that it wasn't going to be as exciting as maybe I made it to be, just because it's Victorian and it's very long. It's 500 pages, about like 500, 600 pages, and throughout the novel, she really doesn't move a lot. Well, I guess she does move a lot, but not much really happens, so despite not much really happening, I don't know, I guess it's the way Charlotte Bronte wrote the book, which makes you captivated, and makes you want to keep on reading. And that really surprised me. I actually really liked this book, and I think I just liked the romance between Jane Eyre and Mr. Rochester. It was a really good romance. The characters were built really well, actually. Jane Eyre was the epitome of the independent woman. She was a really good main character because she's not pretty, or she doesn't have that much special skills, or her main skills are painting and playing the piano. But other than that, she is described as very plain looking and Amish-like, and Quaker-like, I guess. And Mr. Rochester is described as this brooding, tall, dark man with a dark past, who Jane falls in love with, and that their relationship is wonderful just because it's an equal relationship, and the fact that they're able to pick on each other equally without the other person being offended. Like, there's this one line where Mr. Rochester's like, well, Jane Eyre, do you think me ugly? And Jane Eyre's like, well, sir, I've always thought you ugly, but that doesn't matter because I still love you anyway. And I just love the relationship. And outside Mr. Rochester, there's little Adele, who is her teacher, because Jane Eyre goes to Mr. Rochester's house to teach and be a governess to Adele. And there's Mrs. Fairfax, who is kind of like the grandmotherly person in this book. And from there, we just learn about the life of Jane Eyre, which is based off Charlotte Bronte's life as a governess and her family life and everything like that. So, I will give this book, I'm thinking of not doing the star system, but I will give this book like a 4. Just because I couldn't put this book down. I'd stay up at night with my flashlight and read it and everything. And I rarely read books like that in school that just makes me want to keep on reading it, so it gets 4 stars. I wouldn't give it 5 stars just because there are some rough patches where you just have to trudge through the mud and get through it. But outside of that, it was just a really good read, and I really liked it. Surprisingly, right? It's English, for crying out loud. You're not supposed to like English books. They're stuffy and old. But I'm that kind of girl where I love stuffy and old. I listen to 70s and 60s and 50s music. So I love old things. I might not become an antique collector or anything. Maybe of books. I love buying old books, but outside of that, you know, I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but outside of that, I usually don't read or enjoy really old books. But I really like this one. So if you see it, at least check it out at the library. You don't have to go as far as buying it unless it is for school. Then I really recommend buying it just because you can annotate in the margins and you don't have to use post-it notes like I did for my book. Look at the really crappy cover. The cover's pretty much missing, but it's good. I'll read. Yeah, it's a good book. So thank you for watching this video. If you are watching, hopefully you are. I don't want to just talk to myself here. Thank you for watching. Bye.